doing the reset challenge. The reset overall can be used at the beginning of the year if maybe you've fallen off those January, February goals, like so many do. Only a very small percentage of people follow through with those New Year's goals. So, totally normal, no shame. That's totally okay. You can still reset. There is no better time than now. So, whatever excuses you have been making, just stop making them. It is time for you to reset whenever you are ready to do so. So I did drop just a teaser ebook. It's been about 8 days ago now, and it did have a few challenges that have also been part of the challenges on the YouTube Shorts as well. So those do mirror each other to a degree, but of course, the full book goes in a lot deeper. So I thought I would show just a little bit of it. The life reset cheat code is nearly ready to go. And I think there are a few things in there that are helpful that I have done myself. Hello there, welcome. A lot of these things I have done myself too. So they're not things that I just read and was like, oh, that's a good idea. These are things that I have done and used in my own life to be able to reset or move forward. Hello there, hi. So, the book overall is just there to be that next right step. Sometimes people have big dreams and things they are really wanting to do or learn, and they're like, oh, that's so far from where I am now. Like, how do I get from here to there? What is the area in between? And so many times it's not about figuring out the area in between, just release that to God. Let Him decide the area in between, but have the desire to where you want to go and just figure out the next right step. You can ask like, "Hey, hey God, it's me. Like, what is the next right step for me? Where should I be going? What should I be doing next? What would be most helpful to get me from here to the place that I am trying to go?" So, we know life gets messy, but there is always some way to stop being stuck and to reset to a better version of life. So, the overall goal is just reset. And the first step is to make the choice. You've got to make the choice. One of the big things that come with making a choice to get unstuck no matter what the category, if it is work, if it is relationship, if it is kids, if it is money, no matter what you feel stuck in, if it's your body goals, physicality, anything in life you are working on, the first step is to make the choice that you are no longer going to be stuck in that thing. And then also to start approaching each situation. My connection is in and out. We've had tornadoes and storms and all kinds of craziness here. So, hopefully it will stay. But the first thing is just that, life gets messy. Sometimes drama finds us, or unfavorable situations, or health issues, things find us that we had no intention of being part of. And in that moment, when the thing comes to you, hello there, you have two choices. One, react, or two, respond. And they are very different. Yes, they both start with R. They're both short, easy words that we are so familiar with, but they are so different. Reacting is that, yes, of course, Morgan 49, shout it out. Reacting is impulsive. So you're just rolling in there, no strategy, and it is all, hello there, it is all emotions. And your emotions are just all over the place. They are running the show. Your emotions are running the show, not you. Whether that is anger, fear, sadness, whatever. And it definitely goes to undesirable consequences, results. Like when you are reacting, you're just rolling with whatever, you're letting your emotions go through, and it doesn't lead well. Hi there, doing well. Yes. The other choice, instead of reacting, would be to respond. So, responding is literally just the opposite. So, it's a very deliberate approach. It's not impulsive, it is strategy. Whole other side. I mean, it's honestly so different. So, it is a deliberate approach, it's got strategy, and you're able to, instead of letting emotions run the show, put emotions on pause so that you can process. And this sounds really, really easy, but definitely not the case. It is harder to do than it is to say. It is being mindful, intentional, and just better results. Like, instead of getting those unwanted consequences where you're like, "Ah, yeah, wish I would have thought that through," you're getting the actual results that you want, and it's by having that self-control. Science will talk about it, Bible will talk about it. Anyone who is successful in life will talk about self-control, but this definitely affects you most when that drama or that sticky, yucky energy, bad situation comes up because you cannot control the cards you were dealt. You cannot control what is coming to you necessarily, but you can 100% control your choice as far as if you react or if you respond. Those are two very, very different ways to approach it. So, choice one is just in that moment, are you reacting or are you responding? How much of your life has passed by with reactions instead of responses? Most people can probably think of at least one example where they're like, yeah, I messed up there. People will quit a really good job or lose out on a really big business investment or in a relationship, like fly off the handle and be like, no, done, I'm out. And then be like, oh my goodness, what have I done? Or it can be all kinds of things. Really, any scenario could apply here, but I would guarantee that if you've had much life experience, you have learned probably the hard way the difference between that reactivity and response. They are very, very different. So, most people have some situations. It's a really good journal prompt to go through and look at least one or two scenarios in your past where you chose to react instead of respond and look at how did those situations unfold. What might have happened if I had chosen differently? If I had or if I had responded instead of reacted in that relationship, in that job, in that situation, health scare, whatever it is. If you had chosen a different path, you would have gotten a different result. But it helps you. It gives you some inner growth and some transparency when you really look at, oh, okay, that's totally yep, this could have gone a different direction. And it's great because it tells your mind that I'm in control of that direction. And next time I can go a different way. Hello there. So, in your future, think are there any places in particular when I read through this list that jump out to you as places that you need to work on responding instead of just reacting? So think through this list, maybe jot down if there are any that you need to think through further or maybe journal on or look at a little more closely. So at work, if you work, or in your business, if you own a business, at school, at home, in your home environment, with your parents, with your children, with your partner, are any of those areas that you would really like to begin responding instead of reacting? What about with in laws or maybe other family members, with your friends, with your neighbors? We all have somewhere, somewhere in this list is probably going to hit, and you're going to feel that twinge inside of like, oh, okay, yeah, that's a place for me that I need to work on responding instead of reacting. What about just in general public or when you're out and about? Do you tend to react instead of respond? Where can you choose to respond instead of react? Where can you be more intentional about the choices that you're making with those people in those environments? What about in traffic? That's a big one for a lot of people, especially depending on where you live. I mean, think about like Atlanta, 9 lanes each way, or LA. Like traffic can be pretty frustrating, and you can go into that, and your good mood can go from up here to down here real quick if you let it. And think about road rage incidents. Like people get shot and killed over this stuff in real life, guys. Like that's an example of a reaction. Like I let them get to me. I let them get me out of my element to the point that I, you know, murdered someone. That kind of type of thing is crazy, but it's realistic. So reacting and responding, think about where you are reactive, where you're not mindful of how you are approaching a situation. Is it the traffic? Is it the gym and you get super annoyed because certain machines, people are on them too long or they're never available, whatever that looks like? Maybe at church. A lot of people have a lot of negative feelings about their church environment. There's certain people that they avoid like the plague or that they see and have their friendly hi hello, but they don't necessarily have a great experience and they just let the other person run the show, let emotions run the show instead of using that as an opportunity to start responding instead of reacting and choosing maybe to kill that person with kindness. Oh, I know they're going to say something about my dress, my hair, or whatever that's an insult instead of reacting and being like, well, I don't like your outfit either. Choosing ahead of time and being very intentional about the fact that no matter what they say, I'm going to remain confident. And instead of reacting with something negative back, I'm going to give them a look like of confusion. I'm going to employ confusion. Oh, surely they weren't talking about me. Like, oh, oh, me? Did you mean me? This dress? Oh, act confused, move on. That's just one example of a chosen response instead of the automatic reaction of F you, sir. Like, I don't want to hear that. So, this can be employed anywhere. Thinking about sporting events, a lot of people either are involved in sports, love to go watch sports. Hello, Miss Jones. Or, like watch them on TV, whatever. A lot of people go out to watch them in, bars or restaurants, things like that too. And a lot of people get in fights and things like that. Well, why is that? Because they are reacting and they are not responding. When someone likes a team that you do not like, or there is a play where the refs are just clearly blind, not seeing it, and people let their emotions just take so much effect and take all the way over, and it gets crazy town. Those are all examples of people reacting instead of responding. And if you know that any of these certain situations are triggering, you can approach it and already have something in mind for how you can respond in that environment. It could also be shopping. Like if you hate going to the grocery store and you know that you're going to get irritated when you're checking out or if the lines are long, things like that. There are different ways that you can reframe it in your mind. And I think that's definitely helpful in responding to is finding the gratefulness in it. That's a huge one. If you are, especially like with lines, like, I hate waiting. This is a waste of my time. It can ruin your mood, honestly. And then your energy can be felt from a few feet away. So you are literally, when you get into that place, infecting the people around you too. So say you're in line and there are 5 people in front of you, 5 people behind you, and now you have this stank energy. You are spreading your stank energy to 10 people plus the cashier. So I guess 11. Like that's rough. Why do you want to be the one to do that? You don't want to be the one to do that. So you have to choose to respond instead. And if you're struggling to respond well, find a way to pull in the gratefulness. I am so happy and so grateful that I have this cart full of groceries right now and that I have more than enough money in the bank to pay for this. I just got to walk to the store and buy whatever I wanted. I am so thankful that I have this food that's going to go home to nourish my body, my children's bodies, etc. And then for the rest of the line, you can look at them too. I am so thankful and grateful that they also have a cart full of food. Yeah, they've got 2 carts. They've got so much abundance that they've got 2 carts. Like, I'm so grateful for them that they are able to have all this food and nourish themselves, have the money to pay for all of this food. I am so grateful and thankful for that. And just choose to see it as abundance because abundance is a mindset that coincides and ties in with gratefulness, and it always lifts your mood. Like, if you don't believe me, like, try it, test it, and find out. But if you are in the I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money for this, I don't have the patience for this, that's a lack mindset versus abundance. I've got more than enough time, no big deal. Like, this cashier is so great, they are worth waiting for. And I have all these amazing groceries, and I'm gonna make all these amazing meals with more than enough money to pay for all of this. I'm so blessed and thankful. That's a completely different mindset, and that's just a very simple choice of which one. So, let me show you. If you are watching this on replay, you can always screenshot too and just go through, like, in the future, which of these would you like to respond to instead of react to? Whether it's work, school, home, with your parents, with your children, with a partner, with in-laws or other family members, with friends, with neighbors, in general public, in traffic, the gym, the church. sporting events, restaurants, anything like that. There are probably a million other examples too, but those were just a couple that came to mind. Hello. Yes, I am good. Thank you. So, responding is really just making the choice to take a very deliberate, thought out approach to employ a strategy. Whatever that strategy is, you're making a choice to employ that strategy and not just react and let emotions run the show and run you into potentially a mess. So, making the choice in advance when you know it's somewhere that's going to be a little sticky for you, or just making the choice that today I will respond and not react. No matter what today brings, I will respond and not react. So, making the choice to be super mindful, to make intentional moves, and achieve those better results that we know are possible. You can use this as a journal prompt too, to journal out an example of your old way of reacting or a time when you have reacted badly. When you've been the person in the car yelling and like tailing someone down and honking or whatever it is. Like we've all had a moment where we just kind of lost it and let emotions take over. So that is one thing that you can look back and be like, yeah, I commit to not being that person again. I don't want to be the grouchy person in the grocery store who is emitting bad energy field to all these people around me. I want to be the super happy person who is infecting others with that instead. But hey, we are so blessed to be here and have these carts full of food. There are so many people who do not have that option, who don't have the food, the way to get here, don't have the money to spend on the food. Like it could always be worse, no matter what the situation. You could always be in a worse boat. So being so grateful in those scenarios, you can just commit to gratefulness. Like if something or someone feels annoying or triggering to me today, I want to be so grateful instead. Period. The second chapter in the book is about strategy because a lot of times strategy is the missing link. So if we can employ some new strategy into old situations, then we can show up better. And then just like anything, the gym or a chess game, like chess players will learn new moves and they'll have to do them and do them and do them and do them. But then once they've done them enough and they've hit hello there, they've hit that point of knowing like, okay, I've done this move 55 times practicing. I know when I need to employ this strategy, when this move is appropriate, when this move is going to work and kick some butt. So, strategy is one of those things you're going to have to practice over and over, but you can start implementing really small ones, start practicing them. And then when you're ready and you need those, they are in your toolkit, they are ready to go. So, overall strategy is just a plan of action or a policy that's designed to achieve some major overall state. It's just the art of having a plan. Strategy is having a plan, not throwing something at the wall and seeing if it sticks, but having a plan for something that doesn't tend to work out super well for you. I love to think of it like it is just something that's overwhelming. Like, say you have always lived in a super small town and they had one diner on the corner and you only ate at that diner your whole life. Uh-oh, AirPods are dying. Only ate at one diner your whole life. You never had a high-end meal. You had burgers and fries every single time you ate there. Well, if all of a sudden, one day, you go to a super high-end bougie restaurant, maybe the menu is not even in your language, literally. Maybe you've never sat at a table with fabric tablecloths and fancy napkins, and maybe you have no idea which fork is for what. And when you look at the menu, you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed right now. Like, I don't know this. This is new for me. This is foreign. Like, I know my burger and fries at my local hometown diner. I do not know this restaurant. This is not my restaurant. This is not my place. This is not my people. Joe that always cooks my order. Like, these people don't know how I want my food cooked. Joe at my local diner knows how I want my food cooked. Cynthia, my waitress, who has taken my order 800 times. Whenever I get to the door, she makes sure my table is cleaned and she knows what I'm ordering and just tells Joe, hey, Joe, Sammy's here. She wants the burger and fries, whatever. And it's a different experience. It's overwhelming. So if you're used to not having strategy and just having your same routine, strategy is a little overwhelming. But once you get it, it's like, Okay, wow. I'm not going back to burger and fries when I've had filet mignon. I'm not going back to burger and fries when I am now in love with lobster mac and cheese. Like, once you've had the new things, sorry, allergies. Like, my nose is running, my eyes are running, all the things. But once you've had something better, you don't want to go backwards. You're not ready to get back to same old diner because now you've experienced something new and you're like, okay, didn't know this level was here, but it's so here. So if you were in that high-end restaurant that you've never been in, it's not in your language, you're overwhelmed with, they don't have pictures on the menu, so you don't even know. So you're kind of looking around the other tables like, well, what do they have? Does something look good? Just take a deep breath. Start with an appetizer. That's always the answer, is just the next right step. You don't have to know the whole thing yet, but what's the next right step? Hello there. So if you're at this high-end restaurant, you are ready for your next right step. It's probably gonna be like your drink and your appetizer. Like you can go with some things that like, I'll have the water with lemon, or do you have a wine list? Whatever would feel comfortable as your next right step. And then choose the appetizer. Like there may only be 5 or 6 items on that list versus 18 pages of menu. So you're like, okay, I can choose one thing from that list, even if it's not necessarily in your language. Hello, I'm great. How are you? Even if it's not something that you're super familiar with, you could probably look through an appetizer list, even if it's in, say, French, and be like, okay, well, that word looks like potato. This is probably something potato product. Maybe it's fries, maybe it's whatever, but I could probably try that. It's not my fries at my local diner here, but it's something that I can try, something that I know I like. Or there are words, of course, that are the same across multiple languages where you're going to see pumpkin or whatever. You're going to know, like, oh, okay, this is something that I'm going to like or something to stay away from. Yes, start with those. Those AirPods dead anyway, so I guess it's time to go and be released with freedom. So, some of the strategies that you'll hear about all over the place online, and for good reason, a lot of these are things that you'll hear different content creators and different pastors, different speakers talk about that are so big for a reason because these people have used them and become addicted. They've made these things their new normal. So I love Eric Thomas. Like he's one of my very, very favorite. He used to be known as like the hip hop preacher, but then now he's just one of the world's top speakers. And some of the things he talks about, you don't even know necessarily what he's talking about. It may not even be in your language. You're like, "What? I don't know what he's talking about," but there's so much passion behind it that you're like, "Whatever that joy is, whatever that, like, level of success is, I want that." Like, I don't know what he's talking about in particular, like, getting up at 3 a.m. sounds crazy town, but, I mean, look at the passion, look at the success, like, whatever that is, I totally want it, like, I'm listening to this guy. And then over time you keep listening to him, he unpacks those things and you're like, "Oh, okay, that's not so far-fetched. That's not so crazy. These are things that make sense to me. Oh, I've ordered this before at another restaurant." So it makes it less intimidating, more familiar, and it can become part of your new normal. So a lot of these top items would be groundedness, especially some of the yogis or any of the feminine energy coaches are going to talk a lot about groundedness. Also, any of the people super into health or farmers. Farmers will talk about it because, again, they've experienced it, they've seen the success. It may have been on accident, they may have accidentally walked off their front porch into some, you know, grass or their yard, whatever. Or they may have been in the field planting and maybe their shoe got stuck or shoelace broke, whatever. They took their shoes off and walked through that soil and felt something like, oh, I feel so connected to the soil right now. Oh, it's because I am. I don't have rubber shoes stopping me from touching that soil. It's just my body to the soil. So, yes, I do feel connected. I feel different. I feel peace that I haven't felt before. So, groundedness is a big one. And boundaries, especially in like the psychology community. My degree is in psychology, but I'm working on a master's for like life coaching. But one of the big things they talk about is boundaries. And it's big for a reason too, because it seems foreign and weird. Like, that makes no sense. Like, what is boundaries? I don't understand. But then once you start to grasp them, you're like, oh, okay. It's protective. It feels a completely different way. Hello there. My day has been very good, very chill compared to my normal Saturday. Usually it's like hustle bustle, run around like a crazy person, and we have had no games today. That's like a very rare gem for a sports mom. Like not a single ball game to go to, which I love all of that. It's definitely brings me joy and happiness, but it's really nice to not have to do that too. To not have to set an alarm is like this is one of the first days in probably at least a couple years that I have woken up on my own without an alarm. So that was pretty nice. Usually I'm that 5 a.m. girly, maybe 5:30 a.m. depending on we just had the time change here last week, so 5:30 even felt a little rough. But before the time change, it was 5 a.m. Now I'm easing myself from that 5:30 to 6 mark backwards, hopefully getting back to the 5 a.m. waking up. Yeah, can you guys tell this was not a planned live, but I just felt like getting on while I had some time to do it. I'm working on part of the book, so I just thought I would read through some of the principles and tactics in it, English, Sam, so that if anyone were able to be helped by it right away, a lot of these are easy things you can plug in right away. I'm a huge sucker for that because I'm busy. So I don't want to read something super complicated and be like, okay, in 5 years when I finish this book, I can employ this. No, I want that today, that quick TikTok energy, like right now type energy. And all of these are practices that you can start even just a little small sampler and get that appetizer in of these items. The other ones that are hugely talked about for such good reason are reframing. That one's big. Zooming out, finding solutions instead of just staring at problems, active listening. This is big in schools and also in the corporate world. And then vulnerability. That's one that you will hear about from some super successful people, whether motivational speakers, pastors. With dating, with relationships, vulnerability is big. More so probably for men. Women tend to be naturally a little more vulnerable unless they've been wounded in some way. But vulnerability, definitely a big one too. If there are any of those topics that sound super interesting, definitely there are quite a few videos on those throughout the playlist, especially in the quick lessons section. It'll have the really short condensed version where you can get 2, 3, 4 minutes of information. A lot of times it would be a book worth of stuff, but just the key points is there, like try this, look at this, journal on this. Inner work is going to be huge. I don't care if you're male, female, if you're 10 years old, if you're 80 years old. Inner work is something that continues on forever. If you're self-developing and wanting to become that higher version of you, you're going to continue working through things. So it doesn't ever go away. Hate to break the news there, or spoiler alert, you're gonna have to do that kind of stuff forever. Well, hey, 13 is not too young. Plus, if you start doing things like investing in inner work at 13, by the time you're 30, you're gonna be such a boss. Like you're gonna have your whole life together and be just ahead of the ball game. If you heal stuff that may have happened to you before now, then you're doing great. You're ahead of the game. If you start investing the second you start bringing in money, you may even be bringing in money now with little side stuff, mowing some yards, babysitting, whatever. If you start investing right away, your rich future self will thank you. So there's no age that is too young for any of this. Learning and self-development is a lifelong process, but certainly the sooner you start, the better. Because there are people who are in their 50s or 60s or maybe get divorced or go through some sort of trauma, and then all of a sudden you're like, wow, I'm really messed up. I kind of need to heal. I kind of need to figure some stuff out. It's like, yeah, you probably do. And you probably should have started that 10 years ago or 20 years ago. But luckily, there is never too late when it comes to God giving you grace until it's over. It's not over. So you still have time to reset and learn the things that maybe you missed along the way. But ideally, if you heal from things sooner, you're in a better position sooner. You're getting to reap the rewards of what you've planted much sooner. Let me see. So the third chapter, we'll talk through patterns, and this is one of those that has a lot of different exercises and things like that, because everyone has patterns that they play in. Whether you like that or do not like that, everyone has patterns, and there are exercises like timelines, things like that, that you can put together that will let you look at those from a zoomed out view. You're used to probably looking at those things from very close up, like I see this coming, I don't like it, I don't like how it feels, I don't like where it's getting me. But if you're able to zoom out, you may see the same things recurring over and over and over. And some of those are going to be good things, some of those are going to be neutral things, and some of those are going to be bad things. So some examples of some good things that may pop up in your timeline more than once would be those exciting moments, like having a new baby, the feeling of being a mom or a dad for the first time or second or however many. Like I've lots of kids, so I got to experience that multiple times in my timeline. But that awesome feeling of making a baby, like that's pretty cool to have a baby. Or a graduation, like you may graduate from high school and then college and then another program in college, or some program like the military, something like that. The feeling of graduation is a good one that may appear more than one time on your timeline. Same with feelings of love, or a certain goal trip, or some bucket list item, just any goal that feels really good that you see has repeated itself along your timeline. Those are good moments that are a pattern. We want good patterns, ideally. There are also neutral things that you'll see on your timeline that are moments that maybe matter, but they don't really have a charge. They don't make you feel really happy. They don't make you feel really sad. They're just there. Like you see that same thing has happened multiple times, and it just doesn't really have a charge in either direction for you. And then on the negative end would be the bad moments that you're seeing a pattern of. So if it is some sort of trauma that has come up over and over again in that same situation, like losing people, something like that, over and over, or just painful moments, you're like, wow, that's weird. That happened at this age, at this age, at this age. That's definitely a pattern. It's coming up over and over. Or if it's, deaths, things like that, just the really, really negative charges that, like, okay, well, every time this happens, then I see a death in the family, a health issue. Like, I have this health issue, I get really stressed and I have to take medication. I have this panic attack, the same anxiety issue, whatever that would look like, some sort of misfortune or loss that you're seeing as a pattern coming over and over and over. There will be things that are good patterns, neutral patterns, and bad patterns. And no matter your age, if you are, able to write this down, it can be helpful. And then you can also look at it again, like it's something to keep in a journal that you can refer back to, because of course you're still growing and evolving. So I think it's helpful to be able to reflect back and be like, oh, well, when I looked at this at first, I saw these patterns. Now that I'm mindful of those, I may be able to change or reset or laundry pelting all over the place. I am on a live right now. This is not the moment. I don't give a fuck what you on.